A girl dresses up as a man, standing shoulder to shoulder with her wife, her eyes filled with both fear and a deep sense of determination. This isn't just any old photograph, but the sole visual evidence of Spain's first recorded female-to-female marriage back in 1901. In an era where society was tightly bound by traditional values and religious dogmas, love between the same sex was like a flickering candle in the dark, deemed both illegal and taboo. Yet, against such an oppressive backdrop, a shocking and boundary-breaking romance was born. Based on a true story, the film chronicles the journey of two women who secretly tied the knot in early 20th century Spain. Let's dive into Elisa and Marcela. In 1898, within a convent school in A Coruña, Spain, the damp rain casts a misty filter over the already silent campus. Newcomer Marcela timidly steps onto the grounds, her eyes filled with anxiety and unease as she faces this unfamiliar environment. But right then, she crosses paths with an upperclassman named Elisa. Sensing the confusion in Marcela's eyes, Elisa warmly leads her to the locker room to swap out her rain-soaked clothes. At this moment, Marcela and Elisa stand in stark contrast to one another, with Elisa's eyes radiating a rebellious confidence as she acts like a protective older sister, warming up the greenhorn girl. Afterward, Elisa generously brings Marcela into the classroom to introduce her to the rest of the students. However, even with Elisa playing bodyguard, Marcela, with her face still damp from the rain, is still met with mockery from her peers. Compared to the bold and outspoken Elisa, Marcela is like a skittish fawn, constantly on edge and full of uncertainty about everything around her. She is always walking on eggshells, even keeping her voice soft and gentle whenever she speaks. Elisa tells Marcela that she lives upstairs with her aunt and the other nuns. When Marcela curiously asks what it's like living with nuns, Elisa bluntly tells her that it's like living in hell, calling them a bunch of old hags. Making such a statement in a place as heavily religious as a convent is nothing short of heresy. Yet, the normally well-behaved Marcela is deeply drawn to Elisa's unconventional vibe, even developing a hint of admiration for her. Perhaps it's the contrast in their personalities, but these two polar opposite girls are like two ends of a magnet, becoming incredibly fascinated with one another. In this unfamiliar place, Elisa seemingly becomes Marcela's saving grace. Before heading to school, she repeatedly rehearses the tone she'll use to greet Elisa later. Without even realizing it, Elisa becomes the person she looks forward to seeing most, giving her a real reason to show up to class. On rainy days, she intentionally leaves her umbrella behind, waiting for Elisa to notice her drenched state and hoping Elisa will help dry her off. Finally, Marcela opens up her heart to Elisa. The reason her personality is so introverted is that she spent the first 10 years of her life as an orphan. Back then, she slept in potato sacks alongside 40 other girls.
Con las ratas paseándose a su antojo, comiendo sopa aguada llena de arañas muertas, no viendo más que miseria.
It wasn't until she was 10 that a woman claiming to be her mother suddenly appeared, taking Marcela home with her husband. But since that day, they never made up for the years of missing parental love, nor did they explain why they were MIA for over a decade. Under the influence of this environment, Marcela became withdrawn and timid, trusting neither people nor God. Because they touched upon Marcela's painful past, Elisa visits Marcela's house that evening as a form of apology, handing her a book, only to be caught red-handed by Marcela's father. Her father is an extreme patriarch who subscribes to the old notion that a woman's lack of talent is a virtue, believing that sending his daughter to a convent school is just a waste of money. Late at night, under the glow of a candle, Marcela flips through the words of apology Elisa wrote in the book, causing her feelings for Elisa to surge like a fountain, while the day's unpleasantness vanishes in an instant. After her husband falls fast asleep, the mother timidly creeps into Marcela's room.
Tu padre no tiene razón. Yo leo a escondidas cuando tu padre no me ve.
She then pulls out a book hidden inside her clothes to give to her daughter. In an environment of discrimination and inequality, this is the greatest support the mother can offer Marcela. The next day, Marcela and Elisa take a stroll by the seaside. They pour their hearts out to each other, admitting they both dreamt of one another the previous night, though neither is willing to share the details of those dreams. The shackles of their restrained love remain unbroken. Hearing that Elisa is afraid of the ocean, Marcela suddenly stands up and walks toward the shore. They shed their heavy coats, revealing white dresses as they step into the seawater. In the evening, with emotions reaching a boiling point, Marcela and Elisa finally express their love for each other.
Si muero ahora, ese momento contigo en el mar habrá sido el más feliz de mi vida.
Un día te regalaré un caballo.
As they are about to part ways. But in their hazy state of infatuation, they have no idea that every move they made was witnessed by Marcela's father. The father notices the intimacy between his daughter and Elisa, and to protect the family reputation, he decides to sever this forbidden connection. The next day, the father stops letting Marcela go to school, and even though the mother tries her best to intervene, her voice carries no weight in such a male-dominated society. Since she is constantly being watched by her father, Marcela has to sneak into Elisa's dormitory to meet her in secret. But even with such caution, they are still caught by Marcela's father.
Vete.
Ultimately, Marcela is forced by her father to transfer to a boarding school. This separation lasts for 3 long years. During these 3 years, Elisa and Marcela maintain their connection solely through a series of letters. They scrimp and save to afford paper and stamps, filling every page with dense writing to share their mutual longing and describe the changing seasons through their own eyes. They read every single letter over and over again, not even daring to smooth out the creases in the paper. 3 years later, Elisa finds a job as a teacher in a small outlying village. After completing her studies, Marcela defies her father's wishes and resolutely runs toward Elisa. The moment they reunite, it feels as if time has stood still. Their love for each other hasn't been eroded by time. Instead, it has only grown more intense. In this sparsely populated little village, they can finally be together in the light of day. During the day, they teach the children together, and in the evening, they stroll and play through the countryside hand in hand. This is a period of supreme happiness, so beautiful, yet all too fleeting. Reality soon delivers a crushing blow. At a dance hosted by the villagers, Andres, who is smitten with Marcela, accidentally discovers the special nature of their relationship. In that conservative village, which borders on the prehistoric, same-sex affection is seen as an absolutely intolerable heresy. By the next day, every place they walk is filled with all sorts of rumors and gossip. The rumors quickly spread throughout the entire village, and their lives are shrouded in an oppressive atmosphere. Andres simply wants to use this extreme method to break them up, so he can have Marcela for himself. But their steadfast love is not as fragile as Andres imagines. As the rumors fester, the hostility from the villagers grows more severe, and their lives are completely turned upside down. The villagers no longer permit their children to attend the classes the 2 women teach, and they even go as far as to ambush Elisa deep in the woods while she is out foraging. By the time Elisa manages to escape back home, her face has been beaten and bruised beyond recognition. Following this, they only dare to step outside while wrapped in thick, heavy cloaks. Yet, they still refuse to bow down or compromise with the ways of the world. In order to ensure they can stay together, Elisa comes up with a plan that is as bold as it is insane. Marcela lies to the villagers, claiming that Elisa has already moved away from the area. Next, she seduces Andres and has an intimate encounter with him to ensure she becomes pregnant. The triumphant Andres has no clue that he is merely a pawn in their elaborate scheme. A few days later, a man named Mario walks through the front door of Marcela's home. It isn't until they see the man's face that their plan finally comes into full view. At this point, Elisa has chopped off her dark, long hair, drawn on thick eyebrows, glued on a mustache, and donned oversized men's clothing. She is posing as her deceased cousin, intending to marry Marcela under this male identity.
Mi único sueño ahora que ya he regresado por fin es poder bautizarme y después casarme con Marcela.
Inmediatamente, hijo mío. Mañana mismo.
¿De verdad, padre?
Sí.
From then on, Elisa spends every day mimicking a man's gait and lowering her voice to imitate a masculine rasp. When she crosses paths with Andres again, she shows her disdain by spitting on the ground right in front of him. Even though Elisa's performance is seamless, Andres still catches a hint of something familiar in her posture. On the wedding day, Elisa in her sharp suit and Marcela in her pure white gown successfully pull the wool over the priest's eyes, ultimately navigating the entire ceremony without a hitch. But can they really live a peaceful life under this fake identity? The villagers were already suspicious of this marriage, and through their subsequent interactions, they begin to notice more and more discrepancies. Rumors and whispers once again start circling around them. Ultimately, the truth cannot be hidden forever. The priest brings a doctor to their doorstep, demanding to perform a full physical examination on Mario. Marcella puts on a brave face, questioning how it could even be possible for Mario to be a woman in disguise when she is already carrying his child. Seeing that they still refuse to leave, the smile fades from Marcella's face.
¿Pero por qué se mete en la vida de los demás? Es que no hay nadie que necesite la extrema unción o que le curen un catarro. ¿Quiere saber algo, padre? Algo que le convencerá de que Mario es un hombre y a ustedes también. Pues dentro de unos meses lo verá usted mismo. Porque voy a tener un hijo de Mario, mi marido.
Although she uses this shaky excuse to shut them up, the seeds of doubt are never truly uprooted. They smash the windows of Marcella's house, shouting and jeering from the outside. The angry villagers are like rabid beasts, and their attacks on the couple only grow more violent. The two can only huddle together in their room in a state of pure panic. Eventually, Elisa is summoned by the priest. Faced with the priest's interrogation, Elisa refuses to cave, insisting that everything is just a web of lies spun by the villagers. But this time, the priest chooses not to believe a single word out of Elisa's mouth, calling in guards to pin her against the wall. Once Elisa's disguise is ruthlessly torn away, their story is plastered all over the newspapers, becoming the talk of the town, and even being used as a textbook example of moral decay. People condemn the actions of Elisa and Marcella as subhuman, with only a tiny handful of women admiring their bravery while simultaneously mourning their inevitable fate. Knowing there is no longer a place for them here, Elisa and Marcella flee under the cover of night, heading for Porto, Portugal. Although no one knows their story in Porto, the life waiting for them is far from the peace they imagined. Elisa finds work as a seamstress, while the pregnant Marcella drags her exhausted body through shifts in a kitchen. Their lives become even more difficult, and their only refuge is a dilapidated, run-down shack. Due to the physical toll on Marcella, Elisa spends every night massaging Marcella's legs after returning home. Yet, despite the hardships, as long as they are huddled together, they feel there is still hope for the future. However, fate decides to play another cruel trick on them. The Portuguese authorities receive a case transfer from the court in A Coruña, explicitly stating that Elisa is a woman. To protect Marcella, Elisa lies and claims she is intersex, insisting that Marcella knew nothing about it. But the prison warden doesn't give a damn about Elisa's excuses.
Si ahora mismo les digo a los guardias que la lleven a una celda de hombres, ¿cuánto tiempo cree que van a tardar en saber qué es usted?
Ultimately, Elisa and Marcella are charged with cross-dressing, blasphemy, and falsifying documents before being thrown into prison to await trial. If convicted, they face being sent back to Galicia to serve a sentence of 10 to 20 years. Yet, unexpectedly, they find a silver lining of kindness from the women inside the prison. Upon hearing their story, the female inmates take great care of them, even sharing their own meager rations. As their story spreads through Portugal, many women organize spontaneously to send them clothes and daily necessities, writing letters to encourage them to stay strong until that day. With the diligent care and company of her fellow inmates, Marcella endures a difficult labor in prison and gives birth to a daughter named Anna. In that moment, even in such a harsh environment, the arrival of a new life brings them a spark of warmth and hope. The turning point in Elisa and Marcella's fate finally arrives during a conversation between the warden and the governor. At the time, tensions were high between Spain and Portugal, and the warden considered that deporting them might trigger unnecessary diplomatic headaches. Coupled with the fact that more and more people, including the governor's wife, were moved by their love story, the warden strongly urged the governor to grant them their freedom. Eventually, the governor agreed to let the warden handle the matter entirely. But instead of jumping for joy, Elisa and Marcella are filled with a deep sense of melancholy. Marcella looks at the daughter in her arms, her heart torn by an impossible choice. She knows that if she keeps the girl with her and Elisa, her daughter's life will be plagued by discrimination and endless gossip. Learning that the warden and his wife have no children of their own, Marcella makes a heartbreaking decision. To ensure her daughter has a stable future, she entrusts Anna to the kind couple. Even though her heart is breaking for Anna, as a mother who has lived through so much, she refuses to let her daughter repeat the same cycle of suffering. Hearing her daughter's cries as they part ways, the strength Marcella had been feigning finally crumbles. Time flies, and we find ourselves in 1925 Argentina. A young girl with a heavy pack travels from a noisy train to a bumpy carriage, covered in the dust of the road, until she finally arrives at a secluded house. Here, she finally meets the mother she has been dreaming of, Marcella. Though Marcella is now old and weathered, the moment their eyes meet, a flood of pent-up longing erupts, and she instantly recognizes the girl as her own flesh and blood, Ana.
Mereció la pena todo esto. La boda, las burlas, la cárcel, abandonarme. Mereció la pena.
Marcella hesitates to answer Ana's questions until the sound of approaching hooves breaks the silence. That white horse was a promise Elisa made to Marcella many years ago, and now, despite the passage of time, this weather-beaten love remains intact, and the vow they made has finally been fulfilled. The movie Elisa and Marcella is adapted from a true event in 1901 Spain. The attempt by these two women to marry through gender disguise is the first recorded case of same-sex marriage in Spanish history. Their journey isn't just a touching love story, but rather an epic about courage, defying social norms, and holding on to hope. In the black and white frames, every embrace and every tear tells the story of how difficult and pure this love truly was. In an era overflowing with prejudice and discrimination against same-sex couples, they used their own lives to prove to the world that love knows no gender. True love is worth holding on to and protecting, no matter what obstacles stand in the way. Thanks for sticking with me through another great film, and I'll see you in the next one.